of 1979. Last August, we were here for a Monday night baseball game matching the Dodgers and Expos, and we had the aftermath of the fight between Steve Garvey and Don Sutton. Perhaps that was a fissure. And as you look at these cold, hard numbers, there's a dramatic story there. As you see the Dodgers in 1978 were sitting 50-36 after 86 games. This year, they're only 35-51 and 17 games off the lead. The Expos, having played 9 fewer games. A year ago, were under 500, but look at them now as this youth has matured, and they've run off to 17 games better than 500. Of course, the manager is always the man everybody looks to when things are going bad. So let's begin with that side of the story right now as Howard Cosell talks with the Dodger skipper, Tom Lasorda.
Thank you very much, Keith. I am with the presently beleaguered manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, but he keeps the head high and the pride is there. Tommy Lasorda. Some quick, direct questions. First, a recent emergency meeting among you, Peter O'Malley, Al Campanis. What happened?
Well, I just was called back from San Diego, Howard. We had an off day. Peter, who had been spending a lot of time with his father at Mayo Clinic, had a chance to talk to Al or myself about what was happening with the ball club and many things in general. So we spent about 2.5 hours discussing everything.
One of the things you discussed was the way you are hampered by no-trade contracts among
Les arbitres pour le match de ce soir.
Right? Well, that's true, Howard.
Lee Wire au marbre, Dutch Rennert au premier but et Ed Montague au troisième but. For tonight's game, the umpires, Lee Wire at home plate, Dutch Rennert at first base, and Ed Montague at third base.
He certainly shouldn't in any way be satisfied. When I was taken out of the ball game, I felt the same way. Don Sutton came to me 2 days after. He apologized. He said he never said those things to the press. I said if he said that, that was good enough for me.
Now, next question. At this point of the year, the All-Star break at hand, what is there to look forward to? Twice a pennant winner, suddenly in last place.
Well, we're just hoping that last night was the first game, first victory of many more. We have to come to this ballpark with faith and hope and believe that this ball club will win a lot of ball games. I told our players that the 1914 Miracle Braves, the 51 Giants, and the 1978 Yankees had not had hope, had not had confidence, and never would have accomplished what they did.
Final question. Frankly, are you in job jeopardy? You're worried about holding your job?
Well, I've got enough problems just thinking about getting this club straightened out, Howard, and that's what I'm doing right now.
Good luck to you.
Thank you, Howard. Always good seeing you.
The head held high. Still the battling manager of the team that's won 2 pennants in a row, now having problems. Let's go over and meet the happy warrior leading the new breed, the Montreal Expos. Don Drysdale with Dick Williams. Don?
All right, Howard, thank you very much, and things are much happier on this side of the field than here in Montreal. And Dick Williams, you have managed World Championship ball clubs, pennant-winning ball clubs right now. The Expos 5.5 games in first place. Are they the caliber of ball club that you think that can win the pennant?
They absolutely are, Don. We've had real good balance all year long. We've been very fortunate. We haven't had too many injuries. We've had a couple in the last week or so, but the balance is there, both in the bullpen, starting staff, 5 left-handers, 5 right-handers, a good bench, good backup catching, and additional speed. John McHale's just done a tremendous job acquiring these other players that we've added from last year.
Is there a catalyst on this ball club? Is there somebody that makes this ball club go?
I'd have to say 2 of them that are playing every day. Tony Perez, by example. He's just an outstanding player, an outstanding person. We're happy to get him from Cincinnati. We were happy to get him 3 years ago, and it looks like he's going to go on forever. Then I'd have to say my catcher, Gary Carter, who I'm very disappointed he didn't get the votes he should have received in the All-Star game. Hopefully Tom will take him. But he's the one key man that sees everything out in front of him, is just doing an outstanding job. Norm Sherry's done a terrific job with him. So I'd say Perez and everyday players, Perez and Carter.
And quickly in closing, nothing like the home field advantage.
Oh, it's been good to us so far. We've only lost 7 ball games here, and the fans are just outstanding. They're hungry for a winner in baseball, and we might be able to provide it for them this year.
Well, a great town. You see the smile on Dick Williams' face as the Expos lead the National League East, and right now it'll be the Expos and the Dodgers right after this word.
Chevrolet's having a sale right now. Not an ordinary sale, but a sale on Chevy's best. The new Chevrolet Caprice and Impala, sedans, coupes, wagons, Chevrolet Monte Carlo, and a wide selection of tough Chevy pickups, vans, El Caminos, and Blazers. Special incentives to Chevy dealers now make possible savings of hundreds of dollars to you on Chevy's Best. See your Chevy dealer now and save.
Sure, I'm glad we bought our apartment when it went condo.
But you may have the wrong insurance. A renter's policy is wrong for a condominium.
What do you mean we don't have the right coverage?
You can get it from Allstate. We pioneered condominium insurance for people like you. It's different than renters.
With special protection to cover a condo owner's special needs.
Sold me.
Come on, I'll buy your burger.
And a plate.
When you own a condominium, you're in good hands with Allstate.
And that's a promise from us. The good hands, people.
Mr. Goodrich. There's a clunking noise in the back, and no one has been able to find it.
Well, I'll take a look.
Oh, look at this.
Mr. Goodwrench really understands your General Motors cars, and dealer service bulletins from GM help him spot problems fast.
Find it?
Sure did. Found it right here in this new GM service bulletin.
That's great. GMC. With Mr. Goodrich. And genuine GM parts.
He's at over 6,000 participating GM dealers.
Major League Baseball presents Big League Tips. The next time you go to a ball game, go early and watch the players run. Most of them will be pitchers running sprints in the outfield. The reason pitchers run so much is to strengthen their legs, because legs get tired more often than arms. When a pitcher's legs begin to tire, he starts releasing the ball too soon, and his pitches come in high. Strong legs are a must for a Major League pitcher. Baseball fever. Catch it. Find out back.
Proceeding with the message on behalf of Major League Baseball.
Davey Lopes, the captain of the Dodgers, leads off in the batting order with an average of .261 and 19 home runs. Bill Russell will be at shortstop for Los Angeles, .277 batting average. Reggie Smith in right field, .265, but only 9 home runs so far this year. Hitting in the number 4 spot, cleanup first baseman Steve Garvey, .307, 12 home runs. Ron Say hitting 5th. He's the third baseman, .274, 17 home runs. Dusty Baker in left field batting 6th, .275 average, 10 home runs. Darrell Thomas will be in the number 7 position playing center field, .249 average. Steve Yeager back at the plate at .190. And on the mound pitching for the Dodgers, Don Sutton with a record of 7-9. The defense for the Montreal Expos in left field, and it's a great young outfield. Warren Cromartie on the left side. Cromartie really a good one. Over in center field, one of the best flyers in all of baseball right now, Andre Dawson. And over in right field, a big strong fellow with a good arm, Ellis Valentine. Moving to the inner defense, at third base, Larry Parrish, an underrated baseball player, big guy playing third. And at shortstop, in relief of the hurting Chris Fire, will be Jim Mason, who came over from the Yankees. At second base is a youngster that's added a tremendous amount of defensive and offensive speed to this ball club, Rodney Scott. And at first base, the elder statesman of the club, Tony Perez, the old-timer if you want, but in our minds, one of the fine players of the game today that Dick Williams mentioned. Back of the plate, the other fellow that Dick Williams talked about, Big Gary Carter. And on the mound for the Montreal Expos tonight, left-hander Bill Lee. You see the numbers on him for the year at 8-5. When he came here to Montreal, he simply walked up to Gary Carter and he said, "Call your game and I'll throw it." And yes, he did come here with a full-length beard. He shaved it off at the end of May, and he's quit scratching. And he's also become a doggone good pitcher over here.
He also had a no-shave clause in his contract, but elected to ignore it.
Davey Lopes comes up with 42 runs batted in on the year. We have only 3 umpires starting the game. Lanny Harris scheduled to be here, didn't make it. Lee Wire's back at the plate. Dutch Rennert and Ed Montague working on the first base side and the third base side.
Davey Lopes has become the statesman of the Dodgers, the team captain. You'll be hearing from him sporadically throughout this game.
First pitch is hit high in the air and deep to left center field. Drifting back is the center fielder, Andre Dawson, to make the catch in the morning track. And there's a sample of the power of Davey Lopes as he hit that ball about 385 feet. The dimensions on this ballpark, 325 down each line, 375 up the alleys, and 404 to straightaway.
Keith, right here in Montreal, this is a good pitcher's ballpark. It's a fair park for everybody, but at times the ball will carry better here.
Kind of stuffy down on the field.
It is stuffy, and I don't know what it is, whether they've put detergent or something around.
Yeah. Smells that way. Russell Throws it on the ground. Second baseman Scott backhands and throws to Perez, and you've got very quickly 2 out for Los Angeles.
It's stuffy because it's such a totally enclosed area. Quite a difference from old Jarry Park where they used to play, which is windblown. This, of course, the great Olympic Stadium, where ABC was fortunate enough to hold forth back in 1976. It's impossible to come back here and not be overwhelmed by nostalgia.
Reggie Smith comes to the plate. Only 1 run batted in the last 11 games, and that was a home run. Against the left-hander, hits from the right side. His power side generally is the left side, and Lee's in there with a strike.
And one thing about Bill Lee, he's going to throw strikes. He's only walked 20 men in 103 innings. He's got good control.
Took something off that one and got it home, and it's 2 strikes as Lee has the edge. That's bounced to the right side and through into right field for a base hit.
Reggie Smith, of course, an exceptional ball player, not playing up to his abilities thus far this year. Missed, as a matter of fact, 40 games. He's been one of the unhappy Dodgers. Apparently, he was told that nobody would make more on the team than Garvey, and then he found out that Say was making more than Garvey, and he felt that he, Reggie Smith, was being cheated, and just part of the morass that the manager, Tom Lasorda, has had to deal with this year. Circumstances beyond his control. Certainly Lasorda, having won 2 pennants, needs no excuses made.
Steve Garvey, the first baseman, takes a slow curve for strike 1. Garvey had 3 hits yesterday, but going into that ball game had gone 3 for 25. His triple yesterday, his first extra base hit in his last 17 games. Lee jams him inside with a fastball, and it's 1-1.
You know when Garvey hit his last home run this year? That Monday night game we did weeks back against the Cubs at Dodger Stadium.
That's a while ago.
Yes, indeed. Typical of what the Dodgers have been coping with.
Now, Billy Russell, the shortstop, he's been in a slump, too.
Billy looks at the base runner and comes inside to make it 1-2. Garvey is the National League All-Star first baseman for the 6th straight year. He was the MVP last year in the game in San Diego. There's Don Sutton, who will be working in the bottom half of this inning. 7-9 on the season. The Dodgers got reasonably close play at first base.
Nervously chewing gum, Sutton, a figure of controversy, with some outspoken words from his point.
Tuesday night, Marie and veal parmesan. Wednesday night, Monique and beef bourguignon. For those occasions when you're not sure what you're having for dinner, bring along the wine that's correct with any dish. Blue Nile, a delicious imported white wine that goes as well with meat as it does with fish. Friday night, oh yeah, Friday night.
There is Don Sutton, the starting pitcher. Before the game, I spoke with team captain Davey Lopes. Asked him about Sutton's outspoken criticism of Lasorda. Here's Lopes.
Well, that's between Don Sutton and Tommy Lasorda. As far as someone using a manager to rationalize for the losses, I think it's childless, number one, because a manager's decisions may determine if 15 games during the course of the season, I think that's a lot. I think it's the individual players that are solely responsible for the success and the failure of a ball club, and I don't think any manager, unless he's just brutal, and I don't think anyone would have to be in that position to begin with.
Has Lasorda lost control of this club?
No, I don't think Tommy has lost control of this club. I think the individuals have lost control of themselves, probably.
Which ones?
I can't go on national TV and say which individuals lost control of themselves. I think the inability of individuals to perform up to their capabilities they had in the past is the sole reason why the Los Angeles Dodgers are in last place.
Pretty outspoken from the team captain, Mr. Jackson.
Yes, might as well get everything up front. Sometimes it helps to dissipate it, doesn't it? Warren Cromartie tonight in his 235th consecutive game, the Expo record 259 straight by Rusty Staub. Don Sutton on the mound. This is his 4th start since he had a win. And Cromartie fouls it back, and it's 2 strikes. This is the 19th start of the year for Sutton. His last outing, he was beaten by San Diego 6-0. His last victory, June 21 in Atlanta. His first start of the year against the Expos. 2-strike pitch, swing and a miss, and Cromartie is gone. That'll bring up Rodney Scott, then Andre Dawson. Check the batting order for you. See, Tony Perez is in a familiar position in the order. Cleanup. Gary Carter bats 5th. The catcher, Ellis Valentine, the right fielder, hits 6th. Larry Parrish, third baseman, 7. Jim Mason, shortstop, 8. And the pitcher, Bill Lee, 9. Lee's 7 for 37, too. He didn't forget how to hit over in the American League. Pitch to Rodney Scott. Strike call. Ron Say, well off the bag and off the line at third and way in against a 222 hitter who has great speed. 1-1. There you see how far away from the line he is, and he's inside the bag at third.
And Keith, I think you can take a look at that old Dodger infield. They're all up a step or 2.
Yeah, this kid can really run. On the corner, 1-2. You see they're all up. Hits the ball to center field. Darrell Thomas retreats and makes the catch for out number 2. Richard Williams enjoying this baseball season so far.
And why not? He likens this present team. I don't know if you got a chance to talk with him in the pre-game interview about this, Don. He likens this Montreal team to the team he had at Oakland. Not the pennant winner he had at Boston, but the one he had at Oakland. He likens it in terms of team depth, bench strength.
That's exactly what I asked him, Howard, with his past experience. As you look at Andre Dawson, can this team win? He feels as though they can.
Dawson checks on a breaking pitch low and away. Andre Dawson turns 25 years of age tomorrow. 6 of the 8 Expo starters are in that 25-year range. They're young.
Well, when you look at kids like Cromartie, Dawson, Carter, Valentine, Parrish, all of them coming up through the Expo organization, they've done a job.
Jackson takes it low. 2 balls and no strikes with 2 out and nobody on. Bottom of the first inning and no score.
And it's a lot easier to work for John McHale than for Charlie Finn.
Well, when you're talking about Don Sutton, Don really admits he calls himself a model of inconsistency this year. He said he's made glaring mistakes. He's not been able to have the consistent control that he must have.
That's sharply fouled down the left side. Philippe Alou coaching over at third for Montreal, and Ozzie Virgil at first.
Well, clearly Sutton's in a pitching slump. He's had 1 victory in his last 7 outings. No complete games since May 9th. An ERA over 4 for the first time this year.
Roll toward third, and it kicks outside the bag, foul.
However, he has been effective against this club.
He has been in his career. Don Sutton is 16-7 lifetime against Montreal. He's facing the Expos for the first time this year. He was 1-1 last year. There you see his figures.
He is, of course, the only Dodger pitcher, right-handed, to have won more games for the Dodgers than Don Drysdale, which I find unforgivable on his part.
The 2-2 pitch to Andre Dawson. He's gone. So, after one full inning of play, we have no score. We'll be back with more baseball after this word from our local station.
The leader in television is now a leader in television news. Watch ABC's World News Tonight.
So we have to think.
What is Lasorda's reason for coaching third?
Just to change the luck, if you want to get into that. He said...
Hey, Chet, yeah, bring it out with a shot of Laporta.
Oh? Yeah, he gave up in a hurry. I can have some fun with that if you want to talk about it.
Sure, good.
Where do you go from here, Keith?
New York?
Not Boston?
No.
You'll be there soon enough.
Which umpire didn't get here?
Lanny Harris, rookie umpire. Wendelstedt's not here.
So Dutch Rennert's at first
Yeah.
and Ed Montague's at third, right?
Yeah, he's came out with the baseball to be signed. He's a nice guy, Montague. No, he's young. He's, you know, he's got some pizzazz to him. Although I'd accept the other. Okay, we're back. We're looking at Tommy Lasorda coaching at third. He took over there yesterday, and he told us it's just to change his luck, or try to change the team's luck. Worked last night, that's for sure.
Ron Say is at the plate. Dusty Baker will follow. Darrell Thomas and Say with a strike.
You know what he further said, Keith? He said, I've tried everything. I've told them to come to the park at game time. Take no batting practice. I've given them extra batting practice. Sometimes I think I'm dreaming.
Well, it ain't good, whatever he's dreaming. Lord mercy.
Billy Martin took over coaching at third. When he came back, he got rid of that in a hurry.
The shortstop, Jim Mason. Dusty Baker will come up now. Dusty at 275 on the year and 10 home runs against Bill Lee, who started this year with 7 different pitches. He had you name it, Bill will throw it to you. He's given up on the knuckler, though, because when he threw it up there a couple of times, it went ringing off the center field fence. Had to look twice today with a clean-shaven, short haircut.
Yes.
Change up on the corner, strike one.
Now, the one thing about Bill Lee, John McHale says he's probably the best conditioned athlete in the major leagues today. He runs about 30 miles a week.
You call this a good pitcher's ballpark. Bill Lee told me any place that has AstroTurf is a hitter's park.
Oh, that's...
Dusty Baker jumps on the balloon, hits it over to third, and Larry Parrish throws him out. 2 down.
What I mean when I talk about a good pitcher's park is the dimensions are fair, and they are here. And of course, when you're on the artificial turf, that's the big thing. You'll find some pitchers like a Seaver or a Busby. They've told us in the past they'll pitch up a little bit more than they normally would to try and make them hit the ball in the air. And they're right in the sense that if they do start finding the holes, it can be awful tough. But as far as fairness, I mean the dimensions of the outer walls.
Looking at that graphic on Darrell Thomas, you see part of the manager's problem. The Dodgers, always a good hitting team, have simply not been hitting.
Lee, changing speed again, comes into Thomas, gets a strike.
Add that to their pitching woes with a half disabled and half non-efficient bullpen. It's enough to drive you crazy after winning 2 pennants in a row.
That's a shot foul. Kind of interesting the way the Expos outfield sets up its defense because of these youngsters that can fly, and all of them have good arms. They give you the line. They give you the foul lines and close the gaps.
Now, that's what you have to do on the artificial turf. It's hard to really swing in that outfield unless you have somebody who hits the ball one way all the time. But you've got to try and take away something, and take away the gaps. What that does, that takes away the triple. If they're going to hit it down the line, you know it's going to be a double anyway because you're not going to be able to get over there to cut it off. But if you bunch him up the middle and you play him that way, you've got a chance to cut down the drives in the alley and take away the doubles and the triples.
Home plate is 17 inches wide.
Bill Lee works at it, and Darrell Thomas fouls it at the plate, and the count holds at 1-2 with the bases clean and 2 out in the top of the second inning.
I mentioned that, Twin D, only because David Anderson, the syndicated columnist of the New York Times, today had a column about you and the way you use the inside inches of the plate.
Well, I think a pitcher has to use certain parts of the plate on every pitch. What you try and do is take away the middle.
Hit to center field for Andre Dawson. The inning is over. After 1.5 innings of play at Olympic Stadium in Montreal, we have no score between the Dodgers and the Expos.
You know, trying to run a Major League Baseball club isn't all fun and games. The pressure's always on. And for guys like us, there's no off-season. When you win a deal as much as we do, you can't afford to get filled up. That's why we drink light beer from Miller. It's got 1/3 less calories than their regular beer, and it tastes great, too. How about the trade? How about throwing in Bud Harrelson? Let's see.
No, I think it's going to be a good game. Yep, it's going quickly. It's not bad. We've got good story. Kid Lopes. He's got an 18-game hitting streak going again. Who is that?
Lee Walls.
Hi, I'm Christy Jenner. I just focus and touch this electronic button.
What'll they
Give
call
me
it?
great pictures automatically. The XG loads easily too. This signal shows when the film is loaded properly, and the electronic self-timer lets us get into our own pictures. The Minolta XG, the automatic choice for action photography.
Youppi. Looks a little like Keith, don't you think, Don?
The shape is familiar.
Runs like you, too.
Nobody knows who he is, at least the public. He's kept his identity a secret. I guess maybe he doesn't want to become a false celeb, like another mascot has in baseball. Tony Perez gets a round of applause, and why not? He'll be followed by Gary Carter and Ellis Valentine. Ball is hit high in the air and deep to right center field, but it's playable, hanging way up in the air. Didn't go as deep as I thought it would. It just got up there and hung on. So there's one out.
Okay, Gary Carter, one of the bright young members of the Expos. One of the keys to the team. I talked with him before the game. Here it's that talk. What's the nucleus of your success? Pitching staff?
I'd have to say that's a big margin of it, and a keyword experience, something that we've all gained. I know myself, this is my 3rd full year now behind the plate, because when I first came up, I was dividing my time between the outfield and catching, and now I'm behind there on an everyday basis, and that has helped me. And then as well as all the rest of the players, Parrish getting some more playing time, Cromartie, Dawson, Valentine, all more playing time, something that we needed, so I'd have to say the key has been experience.
Gary Carter, catcher of the Expos, pregame comments. Gary grew up in California. As a matter of fact, he went to school with Tom Lasorda's daughter out there, out in Placentia. But he now lives in Kirkland, Quebec, about 30 minutes from the ballpark. And he is a hero here. Why not? Boy, I tell you, this is a strong young player. Don Sutton, being rather careful with him, goes to 1-1 now as he missed outside on the last pitch. Just low with that one. 2-1.
Keith Dunn didn't want to talk to us tonight, but he made a point coming out late just before warming up, coming over and saying, look, I am not at war with the manager. I am not an open dissenter. And I just, on a night I pitch Howard, I just didn't want to
1-2 to Gary Carter. High pop to the infield. Sutton, full save. Ronnie makes the catch. Ellis Valentine will be next. One of the things that's interesting about this Los Angeles club, and again, cold hard numbers tell you a story rather quickly. As of June 1 this year, they were 26 and 26, 3 games off the lead. Since June 1, they are 9 and 25. They're in last place and 17 back. It's been a dreadful month of June, and so far July has been full of laughs either.
Keith, you were talking about the Dodgers road record, and one really bright figure that sticks out, and it does stick out to the negative, as we'll talk about that. That's balls foul. In one-run decisions this year, talking about the Dodgers have always used that bullpen to a great advantage. They're 12 and 20, but on the road, to go a little bit further and break it down, they've won 3 and lost 15, and that's tough.
No wonder. That is Gray under the blue hat. Foul.
I've known Lasorda since he pitched for Montreal right here when it was then a Dodger farm. I respect the man and I admire the man. He's a man. Tasting adversity for the first time as a Dodger manager. He'll emerge from it.
The 2-strike pitch to Ellis Valentine, who's playing tonight with a sore hip from a hard slide against Cincinnati a couple of weeks ago. 1-2 as Sutton is outside with the fastball. That's foul. I heard the presence of Valentine in the community and as a member of this team, while he certainly is a contributing member. 46 RBIs, 10 home runs, and a .267 average, not to mention the arm and the defense in the outfield. They call him an enigma here. He just simply lives a very private existence. I don't know why you're an enigma when you live a private life, but he seems to be want to hang him with that label. He strikes out on a high fastball, and the inning is over, so we've played 2 in Montreal, and we have no score.
There's something about an Aquavelva man. My name's Joy Stratton, and I've been playing Major League Ball for a lot of years. I've seen a lot of ball players come and go, and lots of shades too. I've always liked Aquavelva. No fancy perfumes, no fancy prices, just a good, clean, refreshing fragrance that makes a man smell like a man. Try them all if you want to, but you'll find out. There really is something about an Aquavelva.
Well, why not let Keith lead it?
Looking for good gas mileage? Let's set the record straight. When it comes to full-size, 6-cylinder pickups and vans, standard transmissions, nobody tops these economical Chevys. And nobody has a better V8 mileage rating either. Same with El Camino. Nobody in its class beats it. So, you want good gas mileage? See your Chevy dealer right now.
And now you can save hundreds of dollars on a wide selection of pickups, vans, Blazers, and El Camino.
The relief pitcher's always got to reach back for something extra. Take the bottom of the ninth. Score tied. 2 on, 2 out. Now the batter thinks I'm going to throw my hard slide, but I reach back for Levi Garrett Georgia. Taste that fresh Levi Garrett flavor one time, and you'll know why it's one of the fastest growing brands of loose leaf chewing tobacco in the country. My brand. Make it yours.
We move along now to the top of the 3rd inning, and we'll have Steve Yeager, Don Sutton, on the top of the order, Davey Lope. Steve Yeager at 190 on the year.
Let me tell you something. Hit 190 last year. He may be a little under 190 despite that graphic right now. But he's got a 4-year contract for $1,050,000. That's not bad for that kind of production.
He hits 290.
For 2 years put together. He's a fun guy, though, yeah.
Yes, he is.
Loop back in the crowd foul.
You talk about a fun guy. That Montreal pitcher, Bill Lee, he really is a fun guy.
Is he still researching Goebbels? 2-strike pitch. Yeager checks and takes. They appeal at first and call him out. Struck out.
basic comment from a right-handed world, and I being left-handed, and sinistre, and see, it's in Latin, and gauche in French. It's terms labeled to us by a right-handed world. I think it's non-productive, but it makes people laugh at themselves, I think, and to see the kid in everybody.
Bill, do you find any real difference pitching in this league vis-a-vis the...
We'll get back to Bill Lee later. Right now, let's look to the top of the order with Don Sutton at first base and Davy Lopes at the plate. And Lopes swings and is flagged down by Lee, and he'll go to second to get Sutton. On a fourth play, with Lopes on the fielder's choice at first.
Well, there's a good play by Bill Lee, and Bill is a good...
Un cap sur le jeu forcé. 1-4 on the first out.
Back off of the carpet, and it comes off of his glove. And now Bill, of course, he will run it down. He will take the easy play, and here's a veteran play. Going to second base to Scott, and they get the force of the lead man, Don Sutton.
One more thing about this guy Lee, and I want to say this because it'll clarify some things for some people. Bill Lee's a graduate of USC, the University of Southern California, with a double major in geography and physical education. His father's a graduate of UCLA. His great-granddaddy was the dean of graduate schools at USC for more than 30 years and helped in establishing the College of the Pacific, so he comes from a family that has been involved in education and universities for so many years. So he is a well-educated guy, and a lot of the stuff that he pulls is put on. There's a high fly ball hit out to the right side by Bill Russell, and Ellis Valentine comes in to make the catch, and the inning is over. So we move right along in this ball game, but so far, no score.
Sears National Automotive Value. Now get the Sears Heavy Duty Shark, just $9.99 each installed. Smooth out some of the jolts, and jerks with America's best-selling shark. Installed only $9.99.
Well, I think the way he talks makes it clear.
That's right, no weather. No weather handler can handle. It's Sears all-weather steel belted radio.
Like it can handle the weather.
On sale as low as $29.88 at Sears.
One more tea, guys.
This is my idea of a Sunday drive. My wife's idea of gravy. When it's me under a bunch of sweat and smell, I don't get next to her. Till I get next to new super deodorant Lifebuoy. Now it's even more effective. Nothing powers away dirt and sweat better. And Lifebuoy kills odor. All of it. I ain't crazy. Super deodorant Lifebuoy. Now it's even more effective.
On ABC's Wide World of Sports, sponsor day's rodeo excitement from the Wild West. Also, Thunderbolts roar at speeds over 180 miles an hour Saturday.
It'll be the bottom third of the order as we go to the bottom of the third inning. For the Expos, Larry Parrish, third baseman, Jim Mason, shortstop, and the pitcher, Bill Lee. Larry Parrish, good one.
Perhaps you noticed the kind of guard that Larry's wearing on that left leg. That's to protect the instep. Look to the call ball. There it is. That's to protect the instep. Struck himself with a foul ball a few days back, and that's enabling him to play tonight to return to the lineup.
Ball is hit to center field. High in the air and hanging there for Darrell Thomas, and out number one.
In fact, as we got to the ballpark today, the three of us, Larry was in a batting cage underneath the stadium as you look at Dick Williams walking his cart, taking early batting practice, knowing that he was going to try to play tonight.
Jim Mason at 182, playing in place of Chris Spire, who's suffering with a sore lower back.
More than that, he had new x-rays taken this afternoon, Chris did. Awaiting the results of those, because Spire is deeply concerned about his future.
Mason hits it to center field. Thomas is on his horse. Darrell goes back, makes the catch.
Thomas, a beautiful center fielder. Last year you saw him in a Monday night game when he was with San Diego and trying to play second base where he's an absolute disaster. Remember, Don?
That was down in San Diego. And, of course, the Dodgers, their regular center fielder that they've had over the past few years, Rick Monday, his situation right now, when you talk about the injuries, is very questionable. He's got that bad Achilles, and they don't know if he's going to be able to come back or not this year.
By the way, here's Bill Lee, and I'm glad you said what you said about his background in terms of education and intellect. Keith?
7 for 37 and hits that pretty well. He's got Thomas on the move again. Darrell doing his road work out in center field, but Don Sutton's able to get the Expos in order in the bottom of the third inning. After 3, we still have no score in Olympic Stadium.
Last week, I went looking for a bargain on a muffler.
Yes.
So I go to a department store auto center. I said, get me out in under an hour. He says, what am I, 15? So I go to a muffler shop.
No
I
trade.
Said, does that fit my car? He says, I'll make it fit. So I go to a gas station. I said, how about a guarantee in writing? He said, who's got time to write? Their idea of a bargain was no bargain. Midas gave me a good price and everything I wanted. It pays the Midas side.
You know, a lot of people think Billy and I argue all the time. Actually, we agree on just about everything. Right, Bill?
Yeah, it really does.
We even drink the same beer.
Light beer from Miller. Light's got a third less
Although I
calories than
used to
regular.
hit differently in this kind of
And the best
arena.
thing
I
is
would
it tastes so great.
use the low-level swing and send the
No,
line
Bill, it
shots up
tastes
the
great.
alley.
That's Philly, George.
Billy, it tastes great.
That's Philly, George.
Billy?
Yeah, George.
You're hired.
Howdy, kid.
Tried that with my golf.
Everything you always wanted in
At Bel Air.
less. Did I say
It works.
Got 7 to 4 the other day.
With Mahoney.
Making a comeback.
Situations, men and
You seen
women
Mahoney?
don't perspire equally. Men perspire more. That's why men count on Right Guard. Right Guard is so strong, so effective, it helps stop a man's perspiration odor all day long. Yes, men and women don't perspire equally. And that's why men count on Right Guard. Strong, effective Right Guard. Because men perspire more.
Well, it'll be second time around for the Dodgers as you look at the line score against Bill Lee, with the power now coming to the plate. In the top of the 4th inning, Reggie Smith, Steve Garvey, and Ron Say. Smith, 9 home runs, and that's a big number. 29 RBIs is also a very important number.
Phillies leading the Giants 1-0 the 5th. Chicago suddenly hot 5-0 over Atlanta in the 3rd, and the Cardinals over the Reds 2-0 in the 3rd. In the American League, 4-1 the Blue Jays over the Brewers. Home runs by Howell, Woods, and John Mayberry, a 2-run shot. Cleveland suddenly playing well again. Kansas City slumping. The Indians leading 4-0. Baltimore, Oakland, Texas, Chicago later. Minnesota leading Detroit 2-0 in the 2nd.
And the 2-1 pitch now to Reggie Smith by Bill Lee. 3-1. Lee Wire is back at the plate tonight.
This is a deeply sensitive man whose temperament strongly affects his play. This was true of him at St. Louis. It was true of him at Boston, too.
Get out into short right center. Valentine comes easing over, makes the play.
When you watch Bill Lee pitch here and you've seen him throw some of those off-speed curveballs, he mixes his speeds very well. Bill's been around a while. He's got himself over 100 wins in the major leagues. And that's all that does. When he gets that off-speed curveball over, or the change, he'll kind of turn the change over a little bit and kind of scroogey it away from those right-hand hitters. But he still has a good fastball.
1 out, nobody on for Garvey. Steve hits it sharply down the line. That'll go to the corner, and there's a perfect example of what Don Drysdale was talking about a while ago. The Montreal outfield bunched up. Garvey pulls it down the line. He's got a double, but he has only 2 bases, not 3.
Ron Say coming to the plate. Spoke with him before the game about the number of no-trade contracts on the Dodgers, especially among the infielders. Here is Ron.
Well, I think with the way the system is being run today with the contracts and the free agency, I feel that there's really no other outlet. We have been inflexible as far as some of the deals that we would like to be making, but there's nothing we really can do. There are too many no-trade contracts as it stands, and it's something that we have to deal with along with a lot of other clubs.
Ronnie Say, pregame comments, takes ball one.
Well, you talked about that a week or two ago, didn't you, Keith? You felt it was hampering the Dodgers.
Well, you know, if you had, that's a strike, 1-1. If you had no trade for 2 years, that's one thing.
No,
no trade for
Ronnie
5
Say
years.
has 5.
Yeah.
Bill Russell has 5.
Right.
Davey Lopes has 5. We may hear from Davey later on the same subject. Garvey's up for a renegotiation in 81.
A 1-1 pitch. Naran hits it back to the pitcher. Holds the runner at second. Throws him out. 2 down.
You know, I really feel as though that is one of the major negative points of the structure of baseball today is that no trade contract. I mean, as an employer, that really saddles you down. There is just no room for maneuverability
That's right.
whatsoever.
It limits your training ability. At the same time, it dilutes incentive on the part of the individual employee.
Dusty Baker at 275 on the year. Dusty rolled out to the third baseman, Parrish. His first time up tonight, and he takes it on the corner for strike 1. Plus, consider this on the Los Angeles situation. 25-man roster, there are only 3 Dodgers. Welch, Sutcliffe, Patterson, who are under age 25. Baker hits it sharply. 1 hop to Jim Mason, the shortstop, and the inning is over. So the Dodgers strand Garvey after his double at second base. After 3.5 innings of play in Montreal, there is no score.
Amazing. Snowmobile, the bike, boat, and now the camper. One place cancels it all.
Very rapid game.
Allstate can.
Very rapid game.
It's true. One simple Allstate
Well, 3
policy
guys
covers
really
boats,
wrapped the
trail
ball
bikes,
last
and
inning
snowmobiles.
against Lee.
And we can just add the camper to your auto policy. Hey, the big hands can cover everything.
Now, the wording on that was...
Right.
I got it.
You're in good hands with Allstate. That's a promise from
I
us.
got primetime baseball special, Yankees versus Angels. Check a local list.
Let us show you the lengths Texaco sometimes has to drill to find more energy.
Yes.
This is New York's World Trade Center. Imagine running the length of 15 World Trade Centers. 15 World Trade Centers. That's almost 4 miles. Well, that's how deep Texaco has to drill. 4 miles down and $1 million a mile to find more energy for you here in America. Texaco, working to keep your trust.
Yeah.
America's #1 full-size room, ride, and comfort with impressive fuel economy and cruising range. The 1979 Caprice and Impala offer a 33% increase in fuel economy over the 1975. An estimated 336 miles of city driving on a tank of gas, 441 miles on the highway. This is it. And now you can save hundreds of dollars on a new Caprice and Impala because Chevy's Best is on sale. See your Chevy dealer now.
Next Monday night from Anaheim, we have a special Friday presentation. Excuse me, Friday night, special edition of ABC's Baseball. It'll be in prime time. The Yankees and the California Angels. We have further telecast plans to be announced later in the week, but we'll have the Yankees and the California Angels Friday the 13th from Anaheim Stadium at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, and 6:30 Pacific. Check your local listings for the game in your area over most of these ABC stations, particularly in light of the further plans that will be announced later. That's foul back in the crowd for strike 1.
The
I
Angels.
mess that up.
The Angels, a ball club we've been anxious to bring you on Monday Night Baseball. Allen, such a hot hitter. 6 home runs in 6 games at one point, didn't he, Don?
That's right.
High fly to left side for Dusty Baker. And you've got 1 out. As Warren Cromartie flies out, having struck out the first time, and that's the 10th successive Montreal Expo put away by Don Sutton here in the bottom of the 4th inning. You look at Rodney Scott coming to the plate now with 1 away.
6 home runs in 6 games. They talk about difficult streaks to ever emulate, most particularly Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. But there was a a fellow hit 8 home runs in 8 games back in 1956 for the Pittsburgh Pirates. As Scott swung and missed. His name, Dale Long, from North Adams, Massachusetts. Once, under Mr. Branch Rickey, they tried to make him a left-handed catcher, and Bobby Bragan. That didn't work out.
That pitch is high to Scott. Scott has played more at short in spring training than at second base, but he came on as a starter, and the man he put on the bench, Dave Cash.
And what a man to put on the bench.
He's not terribly happy about it either. There's a strike.
But the point I was making about Dale Long is, though he was never a great ball player, he did something nobody ever did before. Nobody has done it since. And who knows, maybe nobody will ever do it again. 8 in 8 games, a tough streak to ever emulate.
Scott's gone. Looking on the outside corner. That's 11 in a row for Sutton.
Sutton looks great tonight. That's 4 strikeouts.
Wonder what would happen in that Western Division of the National League if this ball club suddenly pulled its belt together and won a runoff about 18 or 19 in a row.
Well, you heard Tommy Lasorda. He still talks to his team about the Miracle Braves of 1914.
Andre Dawson coming up as Lasorda looks on. We were looking at the numbers, though, in the standings today, and you realize that the Houston Astros, with their current posture, they play 500 ball the rest of the way. They're going to be hard to handle because you'd have to play 600 baseball. 60% of your games would have to be won in order to really make a challenge at them if they play 500.
Well, the Astros aren't relying on that. Having suddenly been belted 3 in a row by the Cubs and seen their lead melt from 9 to 7 games over the Reds, they're aware of the fact that they want to keep playing winning baseball and in effect must.
The 1-1 pitch to Dawson is inside. It's 2-1.
How can you tell in this sport how quickly the Yankees went from 12 down the Baltimore to just 8?
That's right. California Angels went from a 5.5-game lead to 3rd place.
On the ground to Russell at short. Next Garvey stretch, but Steve reaches. And so, Don Sutton has put away the first 12 Expos he's faced, and there is no score in the game after 4.
Sold out again.
The new improved Gillette Track 2, please.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Say, who needs improved when these twin blades will do?
Track 2 has micro smooth edges. Makes the blade smoother than ever.
All right.
Hey, better than me.
Better, safer, smoother, and comfortable.
Comfort, smumfort, you know, man. But
Dennis, is that a Monday night game or a Friday night game?
I'll get it on Thursday if you don't quit messing with me.
I see no reason to discuss Don tonight. That should be done on Friday.
Critical on that line. We'll knock down engines for a bad paint job. No job. Quality control.
No, Don Hall.
Aspect of the business.
That's right. Quality control inspector. This is who we are and what we do at General Motors.
Yeah, but let me get Don on.
Has problems with that car, then we got problems because it's not going to be a General Motors customer again. We have 9 inspection stations. I go around to critical points on the line to ensure that they're doing the job right. I run the optics. You can listen to that engine and you can
Really looks
say, well,
terrific.
this one's a
Looks
good one, this one's a bad one. It's a good feeling. It's a little feeling of power. There's nobody going to overrule.
That's Garvey next door.
Sure, that by the time
Isn't that Garvey next door? Show that. Show that.
that engine does function
Yes.
and the way that it's designed to function, I feel personally responsible for that car. I know it's a good car. I know we build it and we build it right.
General Motors. People building transportation to serve people.
Don Sutton, who's retired the first 12 Expos he's faced in the ball game so far tonight. Nothing but goose eggs up there, but here comes old Tundra and Lightning to call it for you now. Don Drysdale, and he normally gets things rattling around.
All right, Keith, it'll be Darrell Thomas to lead it off, followed by Yeager, and then Sutton, the bottom 3 in the order. Thomas flied to center his first time at bat, 0 for 1.
What was interesting about that shot, and Chet Forty had it picturized very well, right there, Sutton and Garvey, and they had been having a nice conversation together, kidding one another. Remember the way it was a year ago?
There's Mason to Perez, and there's one away. Now Jimmy Mason filling in for Chris Fire. One out in the Dodger fifth. And Steve Yeager comes on. He struck out his first time at bat.
Maybe the Dodgers would be better off if the two had another fight.
You never know. Shake them up. Throw them out.
Thunder and lightning. You heard Keith Jackson use that phrase. You know where that tunda derives from, Don?
No.
There's Davy Lopes, the team captain. 1959, a fellow came over from Sweden and went to a boxing lunch. His name was Edvin Alvqvist. He was the manager of a fighter named Ingemar Johansson, and he said there is tunda in the right. And so on June 26, 1959, there was when Johansson KO'd Patterson.
That'll be fouled away right side, and the count goes to 1-2. Well, Bill Lee making his 17th start of the year. Record of 8 wins, 5 losses coming into tonight's game at 3.67 ERA. 1-1 against the Dodgers. That's a base hit right field. Valentine on a couple of long hops, and Yeager's aboard to the pitcher, Don Sutton. Sutton singled his first time at bat. Sutton, you see, checking with his third base coach and manager, Tom Lasorda.
I said Billy Martin tried it not for long. He just won his third base coach for hour, but yet to know his signals.
Good punt by Sutton. Somebody's got to pick it up, and Carter goes to Scott.
Sacrifice 2-4. Sacrifice 2-4.
Scoring position is Yeager at second base, and we go to the top of the order, and it'll be Davy Lopes. Each line to center was on a fielder's choice. There you see Yeager at second base. Now you were talking about winning streaks and things like that. There's one thing that a player has to do every now and then, regardless of if you have ill feelings about your manager, your fellow teammates, the organization, or what. I believe that somewhere along the line that a word spelled P-R-I-D-E has to start taking over. You've got to look at yourself in the mirror every now and then. And if that happens, you don't know what the Dodgers might do.
Davy Lopes has an excellent statement about that. I talked to him before the game. I said, what does this team do now for the rest of the year? He said, in effect, I know what I do. I have to live with myself and my own pride. I try to win every game.
Well, Dave's having a good year. 261, 19 home runs this year. Good curveball by Lee, and the count 0-2. The Dodgers are a club this year, and when they've got the pitching, they haven't got the hitting. When they get the hitting one day, they don't get the pitching. They get some bad breaks as far as a boot or something like that, or a key walk somewhere along the line, then a number for a base hit. And when things are going bad, those things magnify. Right now, let's pause 5 seconds for station identification. Now there's 2 outs in the Dodger fifth, no score. The Dodgers with the only 4 hits of the ball game. That'll be fouled right side. Yeager at second base. Don Sutton has retired the first 12 men in a row. There's Don down in the Dodger dugout. Shows some signs of an off color around those sideburns. Here now. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
It's got to be getting old to have won more games than you.
I think one of the things that's very noticeable about the Dodgers staff. This was the last time that the Dodgers really didn't put a pitcher on an all-star team. Count now 3-2, and you look at their staff ERA of 4.20, and I think right there that tells an awful big part of the story.
Add in the loss of Tommy John and the loss of Rao with the rotator cuff.
Full count to Davey Lopes, 2 outs, Yeager at second. And now they try to pick off. Lee probably has one of the best pickoff moves in baseball, but that is to first base. On that particular pickoff play there, as he kicks the leg up and actually turns around maybe a little bit backwards to second base, we'll see that happen with runners at first and second when they'll be going on a 3-2 pitch. Pops him up. Rodney Scott. And the side retired. Well, the Dodgers are going in the
Chevrolet four-door sedan that beats the Chevy Malibu, 22
I'm afraid
estimated miles a gallon.
Montreal is going to win this game.
In prices for these small foreign cars and for Chevy Malibu, Malibu wins again. The roomy mid-size Chevy Malibu beats these small foreign cars. More room, better mileage.
You know Bill Lee was hit by a taxi while he was jogging and missed a turn?
Yeah.
Huh? Did you know that,
I
Keith?
like to relax when I'm traveling. I'm serious. I like a pinch of skull between my cheek and
I
gum,
did.
too. That's full tobacco
I
pleasure
did.
without lighting up. So I can think about
Where were
yesterday
you last night when we needed?
and tomorrow. Stoll,
He's
my
in
friend,
Drysdale's
lucky
room
guy.
while he was waking me up.
Either
What do you
way,
think?
you're going with the winner.
Can I have your autograph, Mr. Mercer? My husband.
Smokeless tobacco. A pinch is all it takes. This is the heart of power, the inside of the JCPenney battery. These plates and grids produce so much power inside, we can back it up outside. So much power if it ever
That was
fails
my
to accept and
referee
hold a charge, and the failure is not caused by your car's electrical system, return it with proof of purchase. We'll replace it free for as long as you own your car. And it never needs water, ever. It's the last battery your car will ever need.
Tony Perez coming to the plate, knows what it is to win. Played under Sparky Anderson. I talked to him about Anderson and the current manager, Dick Williams. You played for Sparky Anderson. Now you've played a couple of years for Dick Williams. What do you think of Williams, and how does he compare with Anderson?
I think about that is the same type of manager. They like to win, and they like all the players to do what they want they to do, and trying to get the 100% out of every ball play. And they put out there the 8 or 9 guy they think is the best for the team, and they don't care if somebody's mad or not. They just play the guys that they're supposed to play, and they think it's going to be better for the team. And I think they're the same type of manager.
Now the words of Tony Perez. Good curveball by Sutton.
They don't care whether the players like it or not. They do what's best for the team.
Well, that's the kind of attitude that you see in most successful managers, Howard. And there you see Dick Williams, and he has certainly been a successful manager.
Better than he was a pinch hitter in the World Series for the Dodgers.
And talking about Perez, why, he is currently in the last year of his contract. He says definitely that he would like to finish his career right here at Montreal.
It's a great city.
Really a great city.
I'll tell you, it's so hard for Keith and me to come back here. Not remember.
To say. And Garvey, and there's one away. That is 13 in a row retired by Sutton.
I was kidding Dick Williams in the manager's room before the game. Said, remember when they put you up to pinch hit in the series? You went against Bob Kuzaba? He said, yeah, I took 3 straight strikes. I still can't believe it. He said, why don't you remind me of the time I got the hit off of Eddie Lopez? And the other time I got a walk. I said, only one anyone remembers is Kuzaba.
Well, there's the story right there. Don Sutton has been perfect through 4 1/3. And this is Gary Carter. He popped to say his first time at bat. .284 with 12 home runs, 40 RBI.
Hey, Vida Blue has just hit his first home run of the year. The Giants and the Phils tied 1-1 after 4.5.
It could be interesting because Montreal, when they close this season, they close it right here with the Philadelphia Phillies. That's the story here. Olympic Stadium in Montreal, no score. Don Sutton perfect through 4 1/3. Just foul.
That's the hardest ball hit off of it.
Oh, you see that ball pick up speed on that carpet.
I tell you, in the third inning, Keith, I thought Bill Lee would throw him a cripple, and I thought the opposition pitcher really belted one. Remember, Thomas had to go back against the left center wall.
2 balls and a strike to Carter. There's Bill Lee down in the Montreal dugout.
You see that rubber cup that he has on? We'll get a shot of that in just a second as the occasion dictates.
3-2.
All right, there is what we were talking about. Bill Lee spent the offseason on the Nautilus program. He's now using weights for range of motion exercises, and he likes to use that right there on his pitching hand for the exercise of the fingers and the hand muscle.
Now there's the first Expo base runner as Gary Carter draws a walk. That will bring on Ellis Valentine, who struck out his first time at bat. They say that here's a guy, Keith and Howard, that just has good natural all-around ability.
Well, he can run. That whole outfield can run.
Well, they've been working up here. John McHale has been working along with the Expo organization, and now they wait for the third base umpire, Ed Montague, to move into position at second base. We mentioned before the top of the show, working with just 3 umpires tonight. Lee Wire, Dutch Rennert at first, and Ed Montague at third. Up the middle, and that will be a base hit, the first of the night for Montreal, as Carter stops at second base.
Don mentioned to you a moment ago that this has been a year for the Dodgers when nothing is meshed. No synchronization of hitting and of fielding. On the other hand, everything is synchronized for Montreal. Is that hit again?
Got it out on the end of the bat, but he got it in the right location. That is hit number 1, the first of the night. And that will bring on Larry Parrish, the third baseman.
They took x-rays of Parrish's foot after he hit that instep with a foul a few days back, and they thought they detected a break outside for a ball. It was not a break, Don. It was an old bone spur that had calcified.
And that's the guard that he wears right now. Good curveball by Sutton. Sutton, as Putin, they throw that knuckle curve.
Either that or they throw what used to be your masterpiece, a ball slightly moistened.
No. They appeal and they call it a strike. First base umpire, Dutch Rennert, who now moves into position between first and second. That's Carter at second and Valentine at first. Look at that pitch one more time. Went down nicely, didn't it?
The way yours used to.
Hit the left hand. That could go by Baker. He backhands. 1 run will score. To third is Valentine. To second is Parrish. And Montreal leads it 1-0.
And so typical of how
where Baker has to, instead of running over, he's running back on the ball. If he goes over, that ball goes by him. It might go for 3 and 2-run score. He's got to kind of try and round it off if he possibly can. And that's exactly what he did. But in rounding it off, he ran to the corner. He allowed Parrish to go to second. And the third is Valentine, and Montreal leads it 1-0. Now Sutton, who had retired the first 13 in a row, walks Carter on a 3-2 pitch. Valentine singles up the middle, and Parrish doubles down the line and left. And here's Jimmy Mason, the infield in. Mason flying to center field his first time at bat. As you look at that Dodger infield, boy on the carpet. This is when you just like to sit on the bench and put a towel over your head. Don't you want to look and see what happens? 2-0. Sutton making his 19th start of the year, and as Howard pointed out earlier, a very unfamiliar ERA for Don Sutton, 4.19.
Before anybody calls balk, explain why it wasn't a balk, Don.
Well, he stepped off the rubber.
Exactly.
Two balls and a strike. That's the score from Olympic Stadium here in Montreal as the Expos push across the run here in the 5th inning. Have runners at second and third, and but one out. Two and two the count. Here's a case where Sutton will really try and make a good pitch here of some kind. Got the pitcher Lee coming up next. Said before, Lee is not an automatic out. Check swing, and they call him out.
Boy, that thing took a dive, didn't it?
Now there's a big strikeout for Don Sutton. There's 2 gone as you look at the pitch again.
Watch it. When he gets over that plate, it just absolutely dropped out of sight.
Mason trying to hold up, but a good call by the home plate umpire Lee Wire. Lee, probably one of the biggest umpires in either league.
I watched him pretty carefully before he made that pitch, and I didn't see him make any untoward moves with the ball.
They spend years trying to discover on Drysdale, never were successful. I got a kick in that column of Dave Anderson's today. How Dunn described it was Sal Magley who told him to knock down Hank Aaron. So Hank Aaron, whom Dunn used to knock down, had 17 career home runs against Drysdale, more than any other batter against Dunn. Clearly, it was an effective tactic, Twin Dave.
You ever think of how many he might have hit? He might have broke that record a long time ago. 0-2 the count. That ball foul. Lee trying to catch Say back at third.
But a good play. That's the point. And that's Dick Williams' baseball. We've talked about people like Williams and Mock. Once again, I go back. They're both disciples of the late Mr. Branch Rickey. And to this day, Al Campanis, the Dodger general manager, a Rickey disciple, as you look at Dick, has those little cassettes of Mr. Rickey's basic speeches, lectures.
He was quite a man.
Extraordinary mind.
A ball and 2 strikes to Lee. Valentine at third. Parrish at second. 1-0 Montreal here in the last half of the 5th inning. There's quite a guy right there that made the play on that ball. Philippe Alou.
He was some ball player.
Wasn't he?
All 3 Alous. Jesus still with Houston. Matty had the best averages at points in a couple of years at least ever compiled by any of the Alou brothers, but Felipe was the best of the 3.
There's a base hit right field. Here comes Valentine. Here comes Parrish to throw. Not in time, and the Expos lead it 3-0.
We told you this was not an automatic out.
on that swing, on that base hit, when things are not going your way, that's exactly what you get. If things are going your way, that's a nice little ground ball to Davey Lopes, and you're out of the inning. We go to the top of the order in Cromartie. He is 0 for 2. He struck out. He flied to left.
Well, if Davey Lopes had been playing Bill Lee where he is now playing Cromartie, he'd have made the play.
That's right. He was playing him a little bit more to his right. Pop foul, out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike, the count.
This kid is a great young athlete, Cromartie. A very hot hitter. There's Davey. Now, as we widen out, as Chet Forty, our director, does, you see what Keith meant. That Davey been playing there on Lee, but that's a big contingency.
And that's one of those artificial turf base hits, too. But, of course, you play with the elements.
That's right. This kid had a 19-game hitting streak early on in the season. Cromartie.
Both Cromartie and Dawson. That's one thing I forgot to ask them. They both come out of Miami, Florida. I just wondered.
North Dade Junior College.
That's right. Boy, that North Dade, they've provided some ball players for the major leagues. Two and two the count. And the big call of home plate umpire Lee Wire. Remember when Lee first came up to the major leagues, and they'd foul off a pitch, and he'd take a ball out of his pocket. I'll tell you one thing, he would fire it back at you. You knew he was back. He told me one time, I said, I think we're in the wrong position. You ought to be here, and I ought to be there. I was struggling and wobbling on a hot day somewhere in the Midwest.
He's burning your finger.
Oh, man, he turned my glove off. Foul back.
Cleveland's ripping Kansas City. Royals have lost 8 of their last 9. Trail California by 6. Now they're losing 5-0 to the Indians after 6. Bobby Bonds had a 2-run homer. Andre Thornton homered.
Kansas City having some pitching woes right now. See Garvey playing behind Lee at first base. He didn't expect him to go anywhere. Very muggy night tonight here in Montreal. Got him. Now the Expos pick up 3 runs here in the 5th inning, and we'll be back with more baseball after this word from our local station.
ABC News Close-Up uncovers a 30-year-old
Yes.
mission mind control.
So is the question on it? Yes. What was he talking? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. They thirsted for a left-handed pinch hitter, right? Yeah. Well, Drysdale got the runs again. No, he did.
The story is Yuppie.
The hero of the moment covered by UP Bill Lee. I talked with him before the game about his old stamping ground, Boston.
Any bitterness toward the Red Sox at this point in your life?
No, not to the organization as such. It changed midstream with the death of Mr. Yawkey, and ever since then, it has been run counterproductive to the fans, and they've experienced a lot of hardships and troubles. And I feel that I was there a lot longer than the people that kicked me out. So it was tough to take, but I told them the way I left it open that I still like the fans and they still like me, and I got a standing ovation the last 3 times I went to the mound there, which were over about a 2-month period. And he didn't like to pitch me at home because he didn't like the fans cheering just when I, went out to the bullpen and stuff. As it turned out, the predictions I made stood true. That last nice little day, the playoff game with the wind blowing out to left in the late innings and Bernie Carbo definitely absent from the scene. I think the fans realized that this game meant a lot to the guys like us that like to play the game, and it was a shame that we didn't get a chance to play.
Well, what he was alluding to there was the fact that he'd been openly disapproving of the trade of Bernie Carbo and felt that the Red Sox lacked Bernie Carbo when most they needed him.
Now there's one gone in the Dodger sixth inning. Montreal leading by a score of 3-0. You just saw, as you listened to Bill Lee, Jimmy Mason make a fine play on Billy Russell. And now it's Reggie Smith, Scott to Perez, and there's 2 away.
Bill Lee doesn't care whether or not you agree with his philosophies. He has his own. He is a non-materialistic man. He has no contract in baseball with any kind of manufacturer. He goes his way. A maverick with a mind.
Now Steve Garvey comes on. He's bounced to first and he doubled. 1 for 2 tonight. There's that big, slow curveball.
That's really a balloon, isn't it? In Torchia. That's the old Rip Sewell looper pitch in modification.
You got control of it, though. Guys look at fastball. You haven't got him.
Louis Dion can throw some of those.
Andre Russo,
1 ball, 1 strike to Garvey. Well, I think Bill threw one in the World Series against Cincinnati against his first baseman right now that he would like back. Good play by Scott. Throws to get him, and the Dodgers are gone 1-2-3 in the 6th inning. And on 3 ground ball outs. So after 5 1/2, there's the story. Montreal 3, the Los Angeles Dodgers nothing.
Gasoline. Your car is out of tune. It can be wasting 1 or even 2 gallons per tank full. And gas is just too valuable to waste. You can stop wasting gas by tuning up with fresh Champion Spark Plug.
What?
A tune-up with Champions will save you gas, save you money, and save trips to the gas pump.
Hi, John.
Tune up with fresh Champion Spark Plug. You can't buy a better plug.
After the game, a quick drink?
Inside Firestone Stewart's 721 radial are 2 belts of steel cord. In each cord, 10 strands of high-strength steel. 7 strands around 2, wrapped by 1. 721. Because it's a metric radial, it can use more air, so you use less gas. We call it the Fuel Fighter. Designed to save you more gas than any steel-belted radial tire Firestone has ever built. Firestone Stewart's 721. The Fuel Fighter.
Selection is just what Lasorda said.
Okay, watch your back, coming through. Is that all you carried up? Is that all? This is Lowenberg. So what are we celebrating? This is the 2nd year we're sharing this up. I didn't think we'd make it through the 2nd week.
When you want the taste of a truly great American beer, tonight, let it be Lowenbrau.
I should say this because I think I'm serious. Here's a good friend.
On ABC Live, 3rd round coverage of the U.S. Women's Open. Hollis Stacy goes for her 3rd straight, and Nancy Lopez shoots for her elusive first Open victory Saturday.
Here's Rodney Scott to lead off the 6th inning for the Expos. Takes the strike. Rodney 0 for 2. He's quite a basketball player at Arlington High School in Indianapolis. Member of the 72 Indiana All-Stars, the same team with Wilkerson and Abernathy.
Looking at the size of him, he must have been a great shooter.
He was
Like
a
Chet
6-footer.
Fuller.
He could dunk, though. This Scott could dunk.
He had 150 or so scholarship offers, so he must have been able to do something.
I tell you, if he's from Indiana, he could play.
40 was a howitzer, but this guy could dunk.
0-2 to Scott.
Bill Lee is enjoying things. On the other
field. Dusty Baker had him positioned perfectly, and that is out number 1.
There's Tom. I tell you, there's a fellow watching this game tonight out on the West Coast who is Lasorda's staunchest supporter and loyal friend. I'd just like to wish him and his wife a happy anniversary, their anniversary tomorrow. So to you, Barbara and Francis Albert Sinatra, happy anniversary. And from Tommy Lasorda, too.
Andre Dawson stands in, doesn't get the fastball. He's 0 for 2. He is struck out and bounced to short.
I don't know if the people around the country know it. It was well advertised in Los Angeles. When the team left Los Angeles to come to Montreal for this 4-game series, Tom Lasorda went to Dodger Stadium for a meeting with Peter O'Malley, who had just come back from Rochester, Minnesota, and some time with his dad. Mr. Walter O'Malley is in and out of the Mayo Clinic there in recent time. And they had a long day's talk. And Tom arrived here less than an hour before the first game.
We discussed that in the pregame interview, Keith, when you and I didn't have communication. And he frankly admitted one of the things he talked about was the no-trade contracts.
1 ball and 2 strikes to count. Well, when you mention Mr. Walter O'Malley, I would personally like to send along my best regards to Mr. and Mrs. O'Malley. They're quite gracious people.
I got a hunch if he were more actively involved.
Hits the bag down the line, and Dawson gonna go for 2. The throw not in time. You were saying, Keith,
that if Walter O'Malley were more involved, I suspect things would be different. Here's a shot. Boy, he nailed it, didn't he?
He did. Hits the bag up over the head of Say, down the line, and by the time Baker can retrieve it, as we look at it again, Say had no chance whatsoever, even if it didn't hit the bag. Tony Perez, the hitter, 0 for 2, is flying to right and bounced to third.
Dawson, the quickness of Dawson defined it. He actually could have gone in standing at second base with a double had he chosen to, but I guess just to get his britches dirty, he ducked down for a second.
Some hustle marks. Good curveball.
Pitch. Perez has been a reborn ball player. I'll tell you, it's been amazing.
Well, you know, you talked about Llewellyn's going to start throwing in the bullpen. You talked about Mr. O'Malley, Keith, and it always takes me back to the year 1956 when the Dodgers went to Japan and started off over there. That ball hit the left field and hit well. Going back, Baker to the wall. Jumps and makes the catch. And Baker's hurt. Baker limping and calling time. And Tom Lasorda and Bill Bueller, the trainer, will go out. He went into that wall hard. Now Dusty says he's okay.
I'll tell you, this is the unsung one of the Dodger team. You interviewed him after the last Monday night Dodger game we did. Look at it again. Dusty Baker is a player.
That is not padded out there. That's plywood, and he just goes ramming right into the seam there. Now, if he'd hit it in the middle, probably wouldn't have shaken him up as much, but he happened to hit the wall right on a seam where it's nailed to a post. You can see there behind it. See that big post? Boom, hit right on it.
He rattles that whole wall.
It was right at that spot that Alberto Monterina started to make his move as Keith called the 800-meter race in 1976, right?
The horse blew him away in the last 150 meters.
Here's Gary Carter, but finishing a story about Mr. O'Malley, the Dodgers lost the first 2 over there, and he had a high echelon meeting. He says that will be enough of that. That's after the Dodgers just got beat by the Yankees in the World Series. He said some of these players think they'll get a raise because they won the National League pennant. He says they better start winning here in Japan. I've got news for them. That's how involved he would get. Throw back through. Not in time. Llewellyn and Huff. Llewellyn on the right of your screen. Charlie Huff on the left.
Charlie Huff, one of the great characters in baseball. A superb mimic. Before the game, he was showing us the Steve Garvey swing. He went over to play third and gave us a bit of Brooks Robinson. His only problem is he's not pitching well.
I'll tell you something. To be a knuckleballer coming out of the bullpen,
with the way the bats are made, they're almost like golf clubs now. They got the big bottle construction with the limber shafts, and I just question whether a guy comes out of the bullpen with a knuckleball and is successful anymore.
Well, Hoyt Wilhelm sure did it.
Yeah, but he hadn't done it in the last 5 years.
No, that's it.
If he did, that would be a record. Boy, he had a knuckleball. He had 1.5. 3 balls and a strike to Carter. He has walked and scored the first Montreal run. All 3 Montreal runs coming in the 5th inning.
On that note, I might tell you that Goose Gossage has been reactivated and hopes to be ready for the Yankees for next weekend. Juan Benitez put on 21-day DL to make room for him, the Yankees.
Full count to Carter, 3-2. Well, you might get a chance to see the Goose next Friday night from Anaheim Stadium as the Yankees and the Angels go at it.
Let's just re-emphasize that is Friday night.
I refuse to talk about it.
The Yankees
Friday
against
the
the
13th.
Yankees. Well, it's amazing how quickly they, as I said, reduced it from 12 to 8.
Pops him up, jams him with a fastball. Garvey says he'll take it. And that is out number 3. So Montreal gone in the 6th inning, and through 6, it's Montreal 3 and the Los Angeles Dodgers nothing.
When it comes to biting rust, there are 2 types of people.
I want to do it fast. I want to make it last.
For both, there's Rust-Oleum. Rust-Oleum's original
L'assistance ce soir, 30 950. 30950. Tonight's paid attendance, 30,950. 30950.
Nolan Ryan's got a no-hitter. I figured he'd do a no-hitter tonight, but we didn't go there. What's that?
Yeah.
What's the score?
We turned the lights on these sporty American cars.
3-0.
2.5 hours later,
He's got 10 strikeouts through 4.5. Yeah.
started the die-hard. It batted 1,000.
I don't think this is bad, Jeff.
Only at Sears.
What are you going to do? You got a good
From the
pitcher.
people who brought you die-hard batteries comes the muffler.
Good play. This is a great play by Baker.
The muffler, only $17.99 at Sears.
So in front of 30,950 here at Olympic Stadium. I'm Don Drysdale with Keith Jackson, Howard Cosell. Montreal leading by a score of 3-0. We get ready to go to the Dodgers 7th. And back once again, here's Keith.
Don, it's my understanding, as you see the line score, that out in Anaheim tonight, Nolan Ryan, California leading 3-0 over the Boston Red Sox. Ryan has 10 strikeouts in 4.5 innings.
Nolan Ryan is scheduled to pitch Friday night against the New York Yankees as we bring you that primetime special.
And Bill Lee comes first to Ron Say with a slow curve in for strike 1. Dusty Baker on deck and Darrell Thomas to follow.
Well, I told you last week when I walked in the Yankee clubhouse, Jim Spencer came up with a press guide and a schedule on the back. He said, who do you think will pitch this game? Meaning the 5 o'clock game. Talk about that after this.
Mason handles it, and Say's gone. Yeah, throw it out of the sun into the shadows.
Well, at 5 o'clock, you know it's going to be tough. I said, well, who do you think? And he just had a sheepish grin. He says, you don't think it'd be Ryan, do you?
That's when you got to pray that Nolan has no control.
Nolan's had a good year this year. He's had his control. He's knocked his walks down an average of 5 a game to 3.
Dusty Baker rolls it up the middle. Rodney Scott playing him just right, whips the throw to first in time.
You have to be impressed with this Montreal team, don't you? They're in the right places. There are the scores. The Bills leading the Giants 4-1 the 8th. Cubs over Atlanta 7-3 in the 6th.
L'assistance totale pour les 4 parties de la série, 161 513. 161 513. Un nouveau record des Expos.
Minnesota and Detroit now tied. The White Sox edging Texas at the moment. Baltimore, Oakland, latest.
The total paid attendance for the four-game weekend series, 161,513. 161,513. An average of 40,378 per date. It's a new Expos Club record. Une moyenne de 40 378.
Boy, those are the kind that you start looking ahead about a week and a half or so.
4-0, 3-7-8.
You get pitchers in the clubhouse fighting for those games. You get the shadows coming, and they'll play that game in probably total daylight. It'll end up just into the twilight.
Mike Schmidt has gone absolutely mad. He has just hit his 29th home run to give the Phillies that lead over San Francisco.
The slow curve ducks in. 1-2 on Thomas.
He's now tied with Kingman for the Major League lead. It's his 6th home run in 4 games. And he hits moonshots.
That's hit to the right side. Scott in the right place again. Throws him out. The inning is over. Score continues 3-0 now. For an up-to-minute report on the status of Skylab, let's join ABC News correspondent Max Robinson in Houston.
Scientists here on the Skylab Watch now predicting it will most likely fall to Earth at 12:20 Eastern Time Wednesday afternoon. Right now at 9:12 Eastern Time, Skylab is orbiting over the Soviet Union at an altitude of 112 miles. Much of the space station is expected to burn up. The black band on this replica of Skylab is one of 10 large pieces that could probably survive the reinforcement. The protective shroud of the airlock module weighs over 2 tons. The next day and a half will be a critical period for these flight controls here in Houston. Transmitting the Skylab debris away from populated areas into the final descent possibly over the South Atlantic. We'll keep you posted. I'm Max Robinson Houston. Now return to ABC's Monday Night Baseball game, the Los Angeles Dodgers and Montreal Expos.
All right, Max, thank you very much. The Skylab story is very big up in this part of the world, too, because there was at one time a lot of speculation that pieces might fall in Canada. Of course, the Soviets had a spaceship that pieces of it did fall.
Exactly so.
Middle of the 7th inning, the crowd getting a little stretch here and saying howdy to Howard.
Liverpool, Nova Scotia. Hello, UB.
Everybody's got one. Most everybody, anyhow. Well, they're going to cover this. They've started construction and building an umbrella over Olympic Stadium, and that big old crane is still sitting out there. It was sitting here during the Olympic Games.
It sure was.
Still there. There it is, the specter in the background. But they'll put an umbrella over this. They hope to have it done by 1981.
Right behind that area, just a matter of a few yards, is the Maurice Richard Arena, named after Maurice the Rocket Richard, great Canadian player of the past in hockey. It was the site, the venue. As we look at a golf ball, it was the site of the boxing during the Olympics until the finals, which were held in the Forum. By the way, what about Dryden today, Keith?
Ian Dryden has confirmed that he will retire from the Canadian. Fine goalkeeper. Going on to do something else. The count is now 1-1 on Ellis Valentine with Larry Parrish to follow, and then Jim Mason. They tried to talk to Dryden in relation to taking his bar exams and continuing to play hockey on sort of a part-time basis. He said nope. Do something else. 2-1.
May become a political figure in this country.
That's been rumored.
Highly intelligent man.
The 2-1 pitch to Valentine. 2-2. Sutton is in. When Don's kept the ball down tonight, he's been effective. He's been hurt when he's come up with it. And of course, that's an old song and dance that we've heard 1,000 times. You get up, you get hurt. So Parrish hit a good pitch. He reached out there and fetched a low outside pitch into left field for that key double.
careful now.
I was just watching here. They have just the little net behind home plate. No net that you see in some ballparks that will continue on up to where the ball will come up and then roll back down and onto the field. So when you come here to Olympic Stadium, you might have to have a glove tied to your belt.
Shot to left. Valentine's aboard with a fine single. Parrish coming to the plate. Valentine.
Well, the most popular major leaguer ever to play in this town hit his 9th home run as the Tigers and Minnesota Twins got into that 3-3 tie. They called him Le Grand Orange, Rusty Star. He could hit at 3 in the morning.
Valentine has stolen 5, been caught 4. Parrish takes high. I don't know if Ellis will run because Yeager's back at the plate, and Steve does have the reputation and the ability to warrant care at first by the base runner. Llewellyn now is the sole figure in the Dodger bullpen, young right-hander, called up from Albuquerque.
Now, there was a case, as you see Valentine going back to first base. Dick Williams had the hit and run on, and there is Llewellyn. Valentine going, and Parrish trying to move the ball to the right side. Sutton got a good pitch up and in on him. He couldn't quite handle it.
Punch to the right side. He did exactly what the book says do, and the base runner Valentine canters over to third.
So, Parrish comes back to the wars with that protective mechanism over his instep and immediately becomes a hitting hero with his double and single and 3 trips to the plate tonight.
You know, it's amazing how this game can turn around. Here's Don Sutton out tonight. He's perfect for 4 1/3 innings. Then he gives up a 3-2 walk to Carter. And he then turns around and proceeds to give up 3 runs in the 5th inning, 1 on a check swing, 2-run single with 2 outs by Bill Lee. Now he's in trouble here in the 7th.
Ball is hit high in the air by Mason. Short right center for Darrell Thomas. Loves it. Valentine bluffs and doesn't come. Garvey takes the throw in. The base runners remain at the corner with 1 out.
One of the things about baseball, though, is when things are going for you, the game suddenly looks so simple. When it's back, it is the opposite. Look at Lasorda. But as you saw Parrish do exactly what he was supposed to do, made it look so easy. And it's one of the most difficult arts in the world.
Here comes the hitting pitcher, Bill Lee, and a standing ovation for the left-hander. You see, he has singled and delivered a couple of runs in the ball game. Plus shutting out the Dodgers, and the crowd's on the street. Foul back. He chops another one out there in safe ground and delivers another run. Sutton will go bite the doorknob off the clubhouse door.
These are not only great fans here at Montreal, they are knowledgeable. And they've got a great tradition here in baseball because back in 1946, Jackie Robinson entered organized baseball here. And that was the year Montreal, led by Jackie, won the Little World Series over Louisville. They'll still talk to you about it, the older folks will.
Pitch out, and they got Valentine in the box. They've trapped him. Yeager tags him out. So Valentine, a little careless, down the third baseline, gets trapped on a pitch out, and you've got 2 away.
Le retrait 1-2. Des put out 1-2.
Now you see Dick Williams trying to play for that 1 more run. And they have this squeeze on as Lee, as we talked about before. He can handle the bat pretty well. That would have been interesting if Valentine right there at the last moment would have turned around and just taken a dive back to the bag because Yeager, I don't know.
Retiré en tentant de voler, Valentine 1-2. Caught stealing 1-2.
1-2. And Parrish has moved up to second base on the rundown of Valentine. But Yeager, and the reason I used the word careless, was that Yeager had moved out from behind the plate clearly indicating they were not going to pitch to Lee. That ball is hit on the ground on the first base. And it's over to Sutton for the third out of the inning. Montreal threatens again. They can't score anymore, but they right now have a substantial lead of 3-0.
Right guard knows that an equally active situation.
Yeager was out behind the plate.
Yeah. Men
way in
perspire
advance.
more. That's why men
Hey, Denny.
count on right guard. Right guard is so
Denny,
strong, so effective,
can
it
you
helps
turn that
stop a
on so we
man's
can hear it up here?
perspiration odor all day long. Yes, men and women don't perspire equally. That's why men count on right guard. Strong, effective right guard. Because
I'd like to see what kind of a crowd they have there on that 5 o'clock.
Got a big load to haul? Get a tough Chevy van. 125-inch wheelbase.
Sure glad you came.
Plenty of cargo. It's also got a wider sliding side door opener and wider and higher rear doors than its two closest sales competitors. They can't top the gas mileage either with a standard transmission. Chevy van is rated at 17 miles per gallon. And look at that turning circle.
And now you could save hundreds of dollars on a wide selection of pickups, vans, Ladies, and El Camino.
After 7 innings, it's 3-0 here in Montreal. Let's go to California, join Al Michaels, and find out what it's like in Anaheim.
For those of you joining us from Montreal, here in the 6th inning, California leads it 4-0. Got 3 in the first. On a check swing, Yastrzemski out of play. 3 in the first. A bases loaded walk from Torres. And a 2-run single by Rudy. Added one more in the 5th on a wild pitch with Miller scoring to make it 4-0. Ryan has struck out 11 tonight.
Miller's back in the lineup.
Gotten Jim Rice 3 times. He's walked 1, struck out 11. He's 2-2 on Carl Yastrzemski. Anaheim Stadium. This crowd has really been buzzing all night long for Ryan. Every time he has gone 2 strikes to a hitter, they start hollering. Inside he missed. Runner at first base. Ryan, 4 times in his career, has struck out 19 in a game, twice against the Red Sox. And tonight he's on a pace that would net him just about that figure, with 11 through 5 2/3. He's 3-2 on Yastrzemski for the 3rd time tonight. The first time back in the 2nd, he walked Yastrzemski. Second time up in the 4th, he struck him out. Travel in time for Broever. He runs in the air, left center field. Miller going back near the warning track. He makes the catch to retire the side. So that ends it here in California. And for those of you watching the Expos playing the Dodgers in Montreal, we send you back to Keith Jackson, Don Drysdale, and Howard Cosell.
All right, fellas, of course, that was a voice from out of our past doing the play-by-play. The great Bob Uecker. And Steve Yeager has just looped a single to right field. Valentine comes in and holds Steve at first base. So Yeager leads off the top of the 8th inning for Los Angeles. The Dodgers trailing 3-0. Through 7 innings of pitching, Lee had thrown only 71 pitches versus Don Sutton, who had thrown 102. And now it is Joe Ferguson swinging the bat at the on-deck circle. He will bat.
Joe Ferguson, le frappeur suppléant pour Sutton. Ferguson pinch hitting for Sutton.
As far as numbers are concerned, but he does have the 11 home runs
and 39 RBIs. Not the worst figures in the world.
So the big catcher is up. Don Sutton is out of the game. He leads trailing 3-0. Mighty best ball there on the left with it for the Dodger coaches. Ferguson stands in against Bill Lee. Lee has now given Los Angeles 5 base hits. That pitch misses for ball 1. Lou Allen will be the next Dodger pitcher.
Le rendement de Don Sutton, 7 manches lancées, 6 coups sûrs, 3 points mérités, un but sur balle, 6 retraits sur des prises. The line on Don Sutton, 7 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 runs earned. He walked 1, struck out 6.
Nobody on the disabled list. They've had no waivers. Contrast that with the Phillies' circumstances, and they've had a man on the disabled list 9 times, including 5 pitchers. Those are the numbers on the 2 pitchers in the game tonight, and Sutton is now in the history book for this outing. Slow curve misses inside and low, and it's 3-1.
Even more to amplify your point, only 2 pitches as you look at Tommy Lasorda on the third base coaching line. Only 2 Montreal pitchers have missed turns this year. Bill Lee missed one when hit by a taxi while jogging. The other, Sanderson.
Jim Lefevre is the first base coach for Los Angeles. That's foul back in the crowd. And it's 3-2 now to Joe Ferguson. After Fergie comes the top of the order. There's the Montreal bullpen. It's Woody Fryman, the left-hander. Elias Sosa, the right-hander. Sosa, a former Dodger. 3-2 pitch. Ferguson hits it on the ground to the shortstop. Mason over to Scott. 1. Back to first. 2. Now the base is
6-4-3 le double jeu. 6-4-3 double play.
One way to hit Bill Lee when he's as sharp as he is tonight. You've got to time him.
Well, that's the 14th ground ball out that Lee has thrown tonight. Scott turning it over, and they double up Ferguson with ease. Just the tailor-made double play ball right there, the kind that you get in infield practice.
And in the top of the 8th inning, with 2 away, here's Davy Lopes, who has been collared in the game tonight. To the shortstop, Mason. Throws it in the dirt. Perez scoops, doesn't get him. Base hit, Lopes.
Coup sûr, base hit.
That was a high bouncer off the artificial surface. Mason had to wait on it, and by that time, Lopes was there.
Now there you get another look at it. Parrish going over. He realizes that he can't get it. Mason has to catch, throws in the dirt. A good play by Perez to keep it right there so it doesn't go in the dugout. And Lopes with a good speed beats it out.
Pretty close call.
It was a close call.
Shortstop Bill Russell hitless tonight. The rainbow's outside. Fastball is in. Strike 1. Lopes with the left-hander on the mound. 2 out. Not adventurous at first. Shortstop Mason goes the short way to Scott, and they get Lopes coming down. So the inning is over, and Montreal continues to lead the Dodgers after 7.5, 3-0.
Tough team. Tough team.
Getting good pitches.
Yes.
I do believe I said what I meant to say.
Happen only once. The SX-70 sonar knows how to get it. With its single lens reading sound waves with the lens in perfect focus. An electronic brain says yes, stop, and shut it. All automatic. And admit
I do believe that Peter could play a little more forceful role in the operation of the franchise.
Peter's been going, he's kind of like absentee managementship. He's been going back and forth to Rochester so much that he hasn't really been there that much.
721 steel-belted radial
I said
is a
that.
long-wearing thread developed by Firestone. Underneath this thread are 2 cup belts of 7
the young ladies who works as an usherette here at Olympic Stadium in the great old city of Montreal. And on the mound now for the Los Angeles Dodgers in the bottom of the 8th inning as the Expos come up will be Dennis Llewellyn.
Charlie Huff.
Right-hander, 25 years.
Au monticule pour les Dodgers.
Instead of Llewellyn. So it's the knuckleballer who got the call out of the pen. The young right-hander Llewellyn was out there, but Huff got himself cranked up and came instead.
Charlie Huff on the mound for Los Angeles.
1-2, quick final score.
Charlie Huff will pitch to the top of the order. Cromartie, Scott, and Dawson. So let's see if the flutter ball, the knuckleball, the dancer is working for Charlie tonight. It is low.
And you see Steve Yeager, he goes to the big catcher's glove. And all that enables him to do just a little more leather back there to try and flag those down.
Hit high in the air to left center field. Thomas going hard. Baker is over. It's Dusty for out number 1. Charlie Huff has worked the last 14 2/3 innings. In the 14 2/3 innings, 6 appearances. He has not allowed a run. He has given 10 hits and struck out 10 during that period of time. So there's some indication that Charlie is getting his act together a little better than it was earlier in the year.
When we talked about that glove of Steve Yeager, and I remember back as a youngster watching the old Hollywood Star.
Rodney Scott just reached out and stroked that knuckleball into right field for a base hit.
And they had a catcher out there by the name of Al Unser. Remember Al?
Sure.
And Willard Ramsdell, the pitcher, and they didn't have the big glove at that time, but what Al used, he would take and he made the netting, the webbing on his catcher's glove extra big, and he taped it up, and he kind of used that as a kind of a basket.
You realize the name you just used? Willie Ramsdell. You know there was a day, just a little brief announcement, that Willie Ramsdell was being released by the Brooklyn Dodgers, and they were bringing up a kid pitcher from Fort Worth to replace him. The kid's name, Paul Erskine.
Andre Dawson at the plate, and he takes inside ball 1. Right now, let's pause 5 seconds to allow our local stations to identify themselves. Huff delivers, and Dawson hits it sharply to Russell over to second. One back to first, double play, and the inning is over. So Charlie Huff
6-4-3 le double jeu, 6-4-3 double play.
3-0 Montreal, back after a word from our local stations and a message in behalf of Major League Baseball.
Late night tonight, a small-time robbery turns into a big-time war on police stories.
Down you go, Drysdale.
Hour to fill, huh? 45 minutes at least.
How much fill, Dennis?
6.
You gotta admit, I got more goddamn up here from one of the greatest pieces I ever read was by Bill Hunt. It was called The Tale of Two Pitchers. The day they sent Willie Ramsdell down and brought Erskine up. Ramsdell went straight to
As we come back to Olympic Stadium in the last chance for the Los Angeles Dodgers in the top of the 9th inning, Reggie Smith leads off with a single into left field.
Now there was a slow curveball again. Jimmy Mason playing to the hole, maybe cheating just a little bit. As the shortstop and second baseman, they will see the pitch is called by the catcher. They will not leave their position too early, but they will try and maybe cheat a step or so to get in position, and especially with the left-handed pitcher Lee and the right-handed hitter Smith, or any right-hand hitter, might have a tendency to pull that ball a little bit more, and this time Smith just went right back up the middle with it.
Now it's Garvey facing Lee. Montreal leading 3-0, and Garvey hits it a mile high, straight up in the air. It's up to Bill Lee to make the call, and he calls Perez, the first baseman, and you got one out.
Now there's a case right there where all the pitcher has to do is call the man's name. He's the policeman out there in a situation like that, and you have your job to do. You call the man's name so that the guys don't run together. And that's all he has to do. Anytime you see any infielder or catcher or something like that run together, the pitcher has not done his job. And Bill Lee did right there.
Bill now 2 outs away from going the distance. Fryman and Sosa remain in the Montreal bullpen. Ron Say at the plate. It's a high fly ball to the right side, and it's out of play, foul.
Now the one thing right here with the Dodgers down 3, you see Tommy Lasorda, he's not having any take signs out there. May as well go to Whalen, because you don't want to give Lee a chance to get ahead of you and work on you.
That face says a lot.
It does.
That expression. Who was it wrote, "Sweet are the uses of adversity"? You'll never prove it, by Tommy Lasorda.
It's a shot to the third baseman, Parrish, over to second, one, back to first, game's over.
Lee a effectué 92 lancés. Lee threw 92 pitches.
Stories really in baseball in a broad sense. The juxtaposition of power in the National League, this young, fine Montreal team playing so compellingly in all departments, meshing their efforts, and yet the sudden, inexplicable collapse of the Dodgers, the most negative story in baseball, into last place. There's Davey Lopes, and his face registers a lot.